Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, Fight Podcast. I'm your host, SERG VICENTE, and today we are talking boxing. And when we talk boxing, you know who I bring with me, my brother from another, sitting right here next to me, the guru, B-Cam. B, what it do, man?
I'm good. I just had a late cup of coffee for you, my boy. You know, I'm 30 plus. It's past 9. It's almost 10 p.m. over here. So I'm doing what I can to stay awake. But we're here. And yes, today is a boxing episode. But this past weekend, I was tuned in to some MMA. I dip my toes in the UFC every now and again. I was watching Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. So just quick thoughts on that, like 30 seconds.
I thought Leon Edwards looked brilliant. I thought his game plan was phenomenal. I thought his execution was impeccable. I mean, he went out there, did his thing. I had it 4-1. The only one round being the one that Usman ended up getting the point taken away. Should I say Edwards got the point taken away? But aside from that, man, it was a competitive fight. But it was definitely, you can tell who won the fight when it was all said and done.
And last question here. Good Leon, old Usman?
Good Leon more than old Usman for sure. Because It's not like Usman didn't perform well. I really believe that if Usman was in there, or honestly anybody else in the division, maybe aside from a Bilal Muhammad who is just surging right now, I think he does the exact same. I think he just looks like Usman to everybody else. But I've been noticing a lot of people trying to really discount Leon Edwards. And honestly, man, I don't know anybody, again, aside from, Bilal Muhammad, remember the name himself, just the amount of disrespect for somebody who is as good as him. I mean, let's put this into perspective. If we're talking about, winning streaks of all time in the welterweight division, Leon Edwards is number 2, only behind Kamaru Usman. He's currently tied right now with George St. Pierre for the longest winning streaks in welterweight history. I mean, and if we look at who he's actually beaten, he's not gone through chumps. He's going through monsters. And I mean, dude is exactly where he belongs to. He deserves to be. It was funny. I was looking at people talking shit and laughing essentially that Leon Edwards is top 5 or top 7 pound for pound in the UFC right now. And my question is this: how is he not top 10 pound for pound? 6 months ago, we had Kamaru Usman as number 1 pound for pound. How is the guy who just knocked him out and then beat him again convincingly? How is he not in the pound for pound discussion? So Leon Edwards is that dude. He is the greatest MMA fighter to ever come out of the UK.
All right. Well, I got a few more questions, but I'll leave that personal conversation. I just want to let the people know.
Throw it out there. We still got some boxing in there, but you got another 1 or 2. I got it.
Okay. What's next for Leon? Does Bilal get the shot? Where are we standing?
Bilal Muhammad better get the fucking shot, okay?
Even
because
I feel like
Colby Covington bullshit is ridiculous. There's no way in hell Colby Covington should be getting any type of title. He shouldn't be sniffing anything near a title shot.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but Bilal and Leon fought before. Fight ended early due to an eye poke, but like at the point where it ended, Leon was beating his ass, beating the shit out of him, like
beating his ass. But here's the thing: he still is on an 8-fight winning streak and won no contest. Is that 9th fight with Leon Edwards? I mean, what honestly should happen? Which Dana White is an abs. I've said it time and time again. I think that the UFC.
Your boy Dana White.
Who? Look, man, it's one of those things that, when you really look at it, especially with somebody like Dana going out there, Dana who is historically said, I don't make fights on Saturday night, and all these other nonsense that he said, is sitting here gifting Colby Covington, the same Colby Covington that lost to Kamaru Usman twice for title shots. And then check this out. He has not beaten anybody in their 20s since 2017. He hasn't beaten anybody who is not coming off of a losing streak since 2018. And you mean to tell me that that's the guy that deserves a title shot? And let's also not forget Boppy's Steakhouse in Miami. He goes out here, gets beat up by Jorge Masvidal for running his mouth. And then what does he do? He runs, calls the cops, and then we have not heard from him since. We didn't hear from him. He was radio silent for a year and a half. And then all of a sudden he pops back out, during the weigh-in, and he's supposed to get the title shot. Get all the way the fuck out of here.
It's like Dana counted the fact that he made weight to be the backup fighter as a win. Like as like a significant win. He counted it like he went out there and beat a top five guy.
Alexander Volkov was the backup fighter for John Jones and Cyril Gane. Volkov ain't getting a title shot.
But
you know what I'm saying?
What?
Barao, Renato Moicano was the replacement fighter for the last lightweight title shot. Doesn't mean Renato Moicano's getting a title shot. Like, come on.
And so, like, Bilal seems like the obvious choice, but like, where did things stand with Hazmat? Like the casual question, I feel like we haven't heard from him. He hasn't been in the ring. Like
Hamzat doesn't fight at 170 anymore.
That's just done. That's it.
It's just over. I mean,
he may be talking on Twitter, but don't pay attention to it. He's not a welterweight anymore.
He's a middleweight.
Okay.
And like his next fight is definitely at middleweight, and probably his next one will be as well. So when you look at it in that, like he can talk everything, but here's also a thing. Colby Covington was supposed to be on that London card against Bilal Muhammad. He turned that fight down multiple times. He was supposed to be on that fight card, but then popped up as the replacement fighter. Dude, you were supposed to fight. Like, and now you just want it. Like, and then again, you beat Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal hasn't won since he kneed Ben Askren. And you mean to tell me a win off of him, you deserve a shot at the title? Look, this is what you call Dana White privilege.
Which is a real thing. We know it.
It's an absolute real thing.
Okay.
Absolutely a real thing.
Well,
I mean, realistically, if anybody it's between Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns. Granted, Gilbert Burns is 2-2 in his last 4, but the people that he beat were significant. And the one loss he had to Hamzat was one of the fights of the year. He came out there, they put it on him, you know what I'm saying? And if it's not Hamzat going at 170, I am okay with Gilbert. And that was a really close fight, so we're not going to just like poo-poo on that, you know what I'm saying?
I think that's a really fun fight.
It was a great fight. It was great.
No, and I'm saying, like, I think that's a fun fight.
Leon
and Gilbert Burns. Yeah. That's a banger.
That's a scrap, bro. That is a fight fan's dream type of fight because Gilbert is going to come with it. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be honest with you. The Leon Edwards that we saw, that's a different dude, man. Like, you can tell even the confidence that he had going into the match, but also, those body kicks. You can tell Kamaru did not like some of them body kicks. The way that he reacted, I've never seen. Kamaru is usually so stoic in what he does. Every time he got hit with the body kick, like, he was like spazzing out. You see him jumping around and shit. Like, I've never seen Kamaru do that. And I'll be honest with you. If Colby Covington gets if Kamaru Usman could not hold and control Leon Edwards, Colby Covington's not either. And Colby Covington doesn't have the same type of power and stuff. So if you mean to tell me if you can't take him down, he's going to be forced to stand with Leon Edwards, Leon knock him the fuck out.
We'll see. So fun stuff. Always fun on the UFC side of things. I know you guys get the fights that you want. The fights happen. They come, they go. We don't always get that in boxing, but we have this weekend.
We do, man. And this weekend we have, we talk about a boxing fan's dream type of fight. This is a fight with a pound for pound implications. This is a fight with, you talk about BMF, baddest man out there implications. This is a grudge match of grudge matches. We have on first the super middleweight fight, Caleb Plant, the former champion, David Benavidez, the former champion. These guys are legit. Okay, we're talking about two of the best in the business. I can't wait for this fight, man. It's been testy. It has been really testy leading up to and the buildup of it. I think has been great. Brandon, what for yourself? Like, what do you rate the buildup of this matchup? Because sometimes we're not happy with the buildup for some of these fights. How do you feel about the buildup for this specific matchup?
I think you get a solid like 8.5. Like I'm not gonna give it
Out
the
of 10.
10 that
That's
the 10 that it
that's
feels like. It feels like a
yeah.
10, but I'm gonna give it
It
a solid
does.
8.5. That other, 9, 10 range, that's reserved for a buildup that actually has a fight in the buildup. And I guess like at some point years ago, there was sort of a scuffle between the two of them. But I'd say like all things considered, the genuine dislike, the trash talk, whether on Twitter and even in person at the presser, this is a good 8.5. And this is not a fight that you as a fan want to miss, because it's so much that it goes on in boxing nowadays that like there's not a lot of fights where the beef is real. This is that fight. You absolutely do not want to miss it.
Oh, you don't want to miss it. I mean, I'm so oh shit, what happened? I'm hitting the wrong button trying to get myself back to the thing. Um it's an entertaining fight, and 8.5 is a good, because I was trekking towards 9, but 8.5 it makes sense. I'm happy with 8.5.
When you first asked the question, I was so fast gonna say 10. I had to like bring myself back.
Yo, but look, but regardless, man, this is some of the best build we've seen because there's legitimate heat. You know what I'm saying? And we rarely, I feel like you said, you really get that legitimate heat. So seeing it, so I gotta ask this. So you give it 8.5. If we are talking about who has been getting the better, who has won the first round? And the first round, as we know, is the lead up to press conferences. In your opinion, who has won the war of words so far?
You know what? I going back to your question before, I may even bump this up to a 9, only because not only has the buildup been great, but this fight is happening at the right time. We talk so
Right
much about how
time.
we don't
Yes.
get that in boxing, but we have two fighters absolutely in their prime. Caleb Plant's 30 years old. David Benavidez is 26.
26.
Now,
Yep.
who has won the buildup thus far? Now, I don't think there's been any huge wins on one side or another. This guy has said something that this other person has no response to. This other guy has said something. It's been more hatred, trash talk, but ain't no one side has been all that funny to the point where they like kill the other person, gave him like a 50 cent or something like that. I would say overall, I give Caleb Plant round 1. And the reason I'm giving Caleb Plant round 1 is because he seems like he's been able to keep his composure just a tad bit better than David Benavidez during this buildup.
A tad bit is an understatement. Yo, David Benavidez is seething. Every time he has an opportunity, he is like, he can't even be in the same room as this dude. Like, David, bro, don't mess up your bag. It's one of those. Like, he feels like it's like anytime he's like he's about to scrap, and dude is like, what are you doing? Like, the fight is sold. Relax. We're gonna fight. You're gonna punch me. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely think that Caleb Plant won round 1 so far. Not only did he snatch Buddy's name and make his website Buddy's name, which I think is absolutely hilarious. You know, everything, like the press conferences back and forth. One thing that I'm noticing again is the composure, and that's something that I'm going to continue bringing up today. It's the composure of Caleb Plant against the aggression of David Benavidez. And between you and I, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. And again, it's hard to tell what we're getting out of obviously press conferences. None of these things at the end of the day matter, right? But they still matter, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? It gives you just enough insight. And what I'm seeing is really that, again, and I think I said this last time around, yo, David Benavidez seems overly emotional in this matchup and leading into this matchup. And not only is he overly emotional, this is also the biggest platform that he has ever had. First time he's ever headlined a pay-per-view, the biggest crowd, all of these things. I'll be honest with you, I'm starting to get concerned that the moment might be too big.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I don't necessarily like, I'm not gonna debate you too much there. I just don't buy into.
It's not for debate. Yeah,
I don't buy into much the pre-fight shit. Like, I think it's cool. It's fun.
yeah.
It gets me and you excited. It gets me and you talking.
Yeah.
We want to have a conversation. This is what you should be doing to build your fights. Like, this is what it looks like.
1000%.
Genuine dislike or not, this is what you need to do to market a fight. When you hear Floyd talk about like actual marketing partners, he didn't have that many, but when he did, this is what it looks like. And this is what builds fights. This is what gets buys. And this is what builds stars in the sport of boxing. So I don't buy into it in terms of it matters. It matters. Like, it's the build, and it looks good, and it's going to sell the fight, a fight that should be sold because it's happening at the right time.
Absolutely. No, 1000%. It is happening at the right time. And with that being said, I mean, let's just go ahead and realistically jump into this matchup.
Well, and before we talk about that, I just want to mention, like, watch the card. Watch the card.
We'll get into the card. We'll get into the card. I do want to talk about the rest of the card because the card is actually good. I mean, Jesus Ramos, Joey Spencer is going to be a great fight. Chris Colbert is coming back after his loss. Jose Venezuela, he's coming back after his loss as well. I mean, it's a solid boxing card. And again, we've talked about this before. We don't get this that often. So I'm really happy about the card itself. And there's going to be some good stuff. I'll start watching the Chris Colbert fight. That'll be the first fight I start watching. To be fair.
I think that might be the first fight on television.
Yeah. And if that's the case, it's perfect because that's the one I want to see anyways. I mean, both of those guys coming off of the first loss in their career. I mean, Jose Valenzuela lost to Edwin de los Santos. Chris Colbert obviously lost to Hector Luis Garcia. But it was both of their first fight. So I'm curious to see how both of these guys come back. Jesus Ramos undefeated, Joey Spencer undefeated. Between you and I like Joey Spencer. I think a lot of people are saying Joey Spencer is going to win. Watch out. I honestly believe Jesus Ramos might pull this one out.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah. I think Joey Spencer. We haven't.
I like Joey. I do.
They pushed Joey hard, and
they did.
They whatever they were doing in terms of like moving him along. Scrap that. Like, we're going to throw you in there and just see what we got at this point. We've moved you along. We've done everything we can do. He's 16-0. We have to see what we have in our investment at one point or another. And I just don't think he's a fully developed product. He hasn't done enough at this point to show me that he's ready. I like Jesus Ramos here.
Absolutely. No, it's great. I agree with you totally. I got Jesus Ramos on that one as well. All right. But the main event is what all of us are here for. Caleb Plant, David Benavidez. David Benavidez, 26-0, 23 knockouts. Caleb Plant, 22-1, 13 KOs. His one loss was, of course, to pound for pound king, future Hall of Famer Canelo Alvarez. Okay. Guru, B, how do you see this match going? We'll both give both of our keys to victory and how we both see the fight going. So the floor is yours, my brother. Go ahead. How do you see? But you know what? Better question is this. I'll ask you for each individual. How does David Benavidez go out here and actually win this matchup against, Caleb Plant? He is the volume striker. He is the power puncher. He's the guy who usually comes downhill. Is it that simple?
Somewhat, yes. I think he needs to cut off the ring. Very simple. We know Caleb Plant's going to come in there. He's going to move. That's what he's done his entire career. David Benavidez needs to cut off the ring.
He's going to box.
He needs to also establish his jab. He needs to make sure that he demonstrates that he has power early as well. He used that jab to set up a bit of his offense as well. So I think he needs to establish the jab, but he also needs to be countering the jab. Caleb Plant is going to be looking to establish his jab throughout the fight, a jab that he throws out there that's very speedy but not always powerful. And I think he needs to use that opportunity to counter that jab. He needs to go to the body. We know that Caleb Plant tends to struggle with the 12-round fight. He slows down in that last 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Not with the people that he's had training him, though. I feel like with that new camp, I mean, that's his whole different people in there making him do what he does. So I am not holding on to that as much as some are.
Personally, I expect to see more of the same, and David Benavidez needs to help him out. So I want to see him go to the body. Don't get too nervous. Don't get too emotional. You need to manage those nerves. This is your first time on the big stage at this level. I know you fought on some big cards before, but you are the guy. You have media commitments. It's a lot more, and the moment is much different when you are that guy. So manage your emotions throughout the fight. I think he needs to be patient. Because I think Caleb Plant's going to slow down later. And so don't get too frustrated early if you're not able to execute your game plan. I think he will be there for the taking later in the fight. And last but not least, don't start slow. David Benavidez tends to start fights off a little bit slow. He gets hit a lot early. I think the quicker he can start, the faster he finishes.
I mean, look, you hit it on the head. I have some of the same keys. For instance, I mean, you're right. I think he definitely has to match Caleb Plant's jabs. Caleb is probably going to go out there and try to jab him in some way, shape, or form. So David Benavidez has a great power jab. He hurts people with his jab. If he utilizes that, he can really, dictate the pace of the fight. One thing David Benavidez does better than most is that when he gets you on the ropes, he is a straight up marauder. He goes out there and just throws volume punching, combination punching. And then we think about him and just in general, if we're looking at, Benavidez, I mean, he is one of the more active fighters that we have, not just in the weight class, but just in boxing. He averages 66.7 punches per round. If we're looking at it, that is a lot of punches. Now, granted, he still even lands 38% of those punches. So he's landing those shots. He's big, they're heavy, he's coming down. But he is also one of the most active jabbers in the sport. He throws 25.9 jabs per round. So he really utilizes to set up his strikes. I mean, he needs to be able to do that because he needs to push the pace of the fight, keep that volume up, push the pace of the fight, and make it ugly. Caleb Plant has one. They don't call him Sweet Hands for no reason. He has, just a beautiful boxing game. He's quick. It is a finesse style, even if you want to say it in that manner. It's one of, aesthetically pleasing, right? People want to say things about David Benavidez, the way he squares himself up when he's on the ropes. I don't have an issue with that because some fighters that do have power tend to do that when they're on the ropes. He hasn't been in there with the caliber of guys that can really make him pay for doing those type of mistakes to this point. But he knows what he's doing. I don't judge him for that at all. So that's what I think when I look at David Benavidez and what I believe David Benavidez can do and should be doing if he really wants to go out here and win this fight. You said something else as well that I think is so very true. He needs to really make sure, and that we kind of touched on a little bit. He needs to keep his emotions in check. I don't have faith that he can keep his emotions in check because honestly, he doesn't. I mean, he one thing about David Benavidez is throughout his career, he has shown consistently in more ways than one that he is undisciplined. He's lost his belt on the on the scales. He's lost his belt to cocaine. Then this is more than once. That manner of being undisciplined and just wanting to get people back and things like that, to me, when I look at it in that way, you can find yourself walking into traps. And you can also, he has fantastic cardio, we understand that, but you can have an adrenaline dump. He's never been in a stage this high, this big. If he has an adrenaline dump, especially if he's down early in the rounds, I'm curious to see how he's going to actually start coming back. On the other hand, we have Caleb Plant. B, how, in your opinion, do you see Caleb Plant? What are his keys to victory? How does he win this fight?
So I want to see him land with authority, not just speed. I think his best punch is obviously that left hook. When David Benavidez goes on defense, he tends to step back and just puts his hand in front of his face. The opportunity for that left hook should be there, especially earlier on in the fight. So, and that jab, he tends to throw it out there with a lot of speed, which is, it's nice. It looks good and it may work on some opponents, but think back to the Canelo fight. Canelo didn't really have much to be scared of. He was able to walk forward. And even though it may have looked as though Plant was winning some of those interactions, he wasn't throwing with authority. So Canelo was just able to walk him down until he finally chased him down and gets a knockout. It's pretty simple in how that fight played out. So land with authority. Jab to the body. He has a guy that's going to be coming down towards him, walking him down. Make sure you make him reset his feet over and over by landing a jab to the body. I think that's going to be a major key throughout the course of the fight. Use your feet. Continue to turn him. Stick and move. Create angles for yourself and stay off the ropes. You mentioned it already. Stay off the ropes, Caleb Plant. I think he needs to use his legs, tie up on the inside. I think
I'm glad you said that's a good one.
Difficult for him. I think Benavidez is stronger in more ways than one, but Plant comes to these fights in amazing shape. I think he's more than ready. He will be strong enough to hold him, tie him up on the inside. I think he needs to put me to sleep. If it's a boring fight, if he can make the fight as boring as possible, it's a good night for Caleb Plant. It's not a good night for Dave. for David Benavidez. Manage his own pace. We know that he has some stamina issues down the stretch. And I know you're expecting to see something different, but he had stamina issues against Canelo. If he wasn't showing up in the best shape,
he has a whole new team since then, though. And that's why I hear what you're saying, but like I don't. I believe in the trainers and the coaching staff that he has. That's what I would say. And then seeing the way that he competes and competed in his last fight, especially with Durrell, the high-paced fight that match against Durrell actually was until it was stopped. If he can throw that type of pace and that type of volume, falling down, standing back up, back and forth, he showed me there how great his conditioning was because he wasn't slowing down.
Well, I think both fighters get a little too much over the wins against Anthony Durrell, who I don't think was on either of their levels. And in the case of Caleb Plant, he fought an older Anthony Durrell, and that fight really was boring until that amazing 11th round knockout. And he's been able to build. I was at that fight, so you know he was able. He was able to
on TV. Yeah,
you don't think it was boring?
I rewatched it. No, especially I've rewatched it twice this week. And if you're actually rewatching the fight and looking at it, that was a high level chess match. I mean, that's the best Durrell that I've seen in a really long time. Not only is that the best Durrell I've seen in a really long time, watching the back and forths, I mean, to me, it was an entertaining chess match, but that's me. You know, it is like, I get it. I think being in the building is probably different if the crowd ain't, you know, you ain't hearing the big thumps and booms and shit, you know what I'm saying? I think the crowd is going to feel a certain way. So I know it's different when you're in the building as opposed to watching it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought it was a bit boring, and I don't think Anthony Durrell is that good. I think he's an elite level fighter in that division, but I don't think he's that amazing. He doesn't really have any elite names in his resume.
Well, let's be honest. Let's be very honest, though. Neither of them really have that many elite names on their resume. I think that's the problem with boxing. You and I have discussed that a lot. Let's be very clear. David Benavidez has 0 elite names aside from Durrell on his resume, if we really want to be technical. You know what I'm saying? And then, I mean, if we're looking at it as well, we want to get technical. I mean, people make it seem like he is this. Oh no, well, let me give you my keys to victory really quick. You all right? I'm sorry, please. I'm sorry.
My last one, I said manage pace and just start fast. Take advantage of David Benavidez's slow start, and he needs to start fast himself. He obviously has to manage pace for those stamina issues towards the end of the fight. But if he can start fast, he can take advantage of David early and get him thinking about what he's putting forth.
For sure. No, I love that, man. Look, again, we have some of the same things. We'd be thinking the same about some shit. I appreciate that. Look, man, his jab, one thing that Caleb Plant does, and one thing if you're actually watching his open workout, you can kind of see a couple of things that they're working on in camp. One thing that Caleb Plant does, he throws, not only does he throw a jab to the body, he throws what's called a stabbing jab to the body. It does not feel good. He's doing it to slow you down. He's doing it to intercept you. So he needs to go out there and make certain that he's actually using different levels with David Benavidez. You're right. When David Benavidez is actually defending up, one thing he does is he just closes the door, right? He just closes up. There's so much open. He can go around. You can go underneath. There's so many openings when people defend in that manner. So be able to do that, and actually he needs to very, should I say, in the terms for people who don't know or see what I'm talking about with the stabbing jab, think Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, the way that they consistently jabbed and attacked to the body, to go out there and actually disrupt people's, momentum. My next point, sharp shots disrupt David Benavidez's momentum. David Benavidez likes coming downhill, and he's somebody that he'll throw a lot of punches, especially when he's on if he has your back against the ropes. So with that being said, Caleb Plant needs to go out there, break his rhythm, hold, like you were saying at times, to frustrate David Benavidez, and make sure he's consistently hitting him with sharp shots, check hooks, doing those type of things to disrupt his rhythm and break the patterns that he has.
He's a big guy. It's hard to disrupt his rhythm, but if you watch David Benavidez fight, when you disrupt his rhythm, he has to totally reset.
Well, here's the thing. He fought one of Brenneman's, Caleb Plant's new coaches, trainer, should I say. He fought Corone Davis, who is a middleweight coming up, has some losses, more of a journeyman. He got stopped because, in that fight, but it was just because he literally took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. And his team was just like, there's no reason for him to get, beat, take unnecessary shots because you haven't had time to prepare for this. And if you even looked at that fight, that's what was happening. David Benavidez, like you said, he will get cracked if he comes in because he throws kind of recklessly once he gets in there because he's so big and powerful and tough. He can get deterred. And you're right. As soon as he gets hit, he has to reset. Caleb Plant can do that as well. Caleb Plant needs to do what I like to call you reach, I teach. One thing that David Benavidez does, especially when he throws that big left hook, he throws it over his front foot a lot. So he really reaches with that. So he keeps his head out. If he's reaching or overextending, Caleb Plant needs to make sure that he's making them pay for those type of things. One thing that they're talking about and they want to do exactly. He's been sitting down more on his shots. He still has movement, but one thing that they've worked on with his new team is sitting down. If he's sitting down on his shots and he's proved to himself, which he did in his last fight, that, you know what, man, I could hurt dudes and get him out of here. If he's able to do that, especially in the middle of the ring, when David Benavidez is overextending, get that respect really quick. It's going to change the course and the feeling of the fight. Control the center of the ring. Turn him. Don't let David Benavidez walk you down because, like we said, if he gets you on your back and he starts coming downhill, it is very how Jared Hurd used to fight. He's just coming downhill at you damn near recklessly, and he's not stopping. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure you're keeping him and his momentum at bay. So for me, those are, in my opinion, Caleb Plant's, keys to victory. Any thoughts before we go forward?
I think we're aligned in a lot of things that we said. Caleb Plant continuing to break his rhythm, turn him.
Yep.
Like we know what David Benavidez is likely going to want to do. He's going to want to come forward. He's going to want to put him against the ropes. Don't get caught up against the ropes. Don't get caught up on the corners. But for David Benavidez, like walk him down.
Absolutely.
Like
and that's what you got to do.
Like I had so many less keys, and I've already said David Benavidez is my pick to win the fight. I had so many less keys for David Benavidez because like we kind of just know what he has to do. Just walk him down.
I had 3 keys for David Benavidez. That's even 3.
I'm like Caleb Plant. You've seen the meme with like all the numbers and everything going around. He got to do a lot to make sure that he can win this fight. David Benavidez, just be yourself, bro.
Check it out. We know your pick. This is how. So let me ask you this before I break down how I see how it's going to play out for you. We've got our keys. David Benavidez. We know David's your pick. How is he going to win?
I think he's going to win by knockout. I think he's going to win by knockout in very similar fashion to how Caleb Plant lost against Canelo. I think Caleb Plant will be there early. I think he'll have success early on. But if he can't get respect and hurt David Benavidez early on, then once we get past the 6th, 7th round, it's just going to start to get worse and worse for him until he can't necessarily use his legs to escape anymore, and David Benavidez gets the finish. I don't think it's going to be like a nasty one punch type of KO, but he'll get a nice TKO victory, and we move on.
I think David Benavidez is overrated as fuck. I'll be honest with you. I literally all week I have watched his last 8 fights, and I've been watching, and I'm sitting here. He follows his opponent. He doesn't have a high fight IQ. Yes, he's powerful, but I can even look at the Durrell fight. It's not like he hurt Durrell. Durrell just couldn't. It was a cut. So when I'm seeing him, and he wasn't. So if Durrell, in my opinion, was able to use his movement and stay away from him, I think Caleb Plant has gotten so much better. I think he is one of the best guys in the sport. I think he learned a lot from that Canelo fight. And coming in the exact same way that Canelo learned a lot from his loss to Floyd Mayweather, I think Caleb Plant's going to learn a lot from his loss to Canelo Alvarez. I think he manages his distance, his expectations more than he did that fight. And I'll be honest with you. I think he knocks out David Benavidez. Woo! I don't see a world where he does not knock out David Benavidez because here's the thing. David Benavidez is an emotional wreck. The moment's going to be too big. Once he starts getting frustrated, he knows he's down. He's going to put himself in positions to get hurt. Caleb Plant, we have seen him be able to adjust and make game plan moves on decisions on the fly. I have not been able to see David Benavidez do that. He just keeps going. He picks it up. That dude is like the Terminator. He gonna keep T1000 just coming downhill constantly.
I'm gonna say
He's going to walk into something, and it's not like we have not seen him hurt. I've seen him drop twice. David Benavidez has been dropped more than Caleb Plant has been dropped in his career. So why do people make it seem as if that doesn't happen? Huh?
By Gavril.
Exactly. Yeah, and in the fight in the Gavril, the first one, if you go back and watch it, I absolutely believe Gavril won that first fight. So when I think of it and I put all those things together, Caleb Plant's going to be your champion, guys. He's going to move on because here's the thing. He has a big picture. When I see guys sit there saying things like, I'm going to fight David Benavidez, I'm going to fight Jamal Charlo, and then I want Canelo again. When I see guys that focused and that determined, you got me. I'm rocking with Caleb Plant.
Personally, like, I like your pick. I like your pick a lot. I just think some of the build is making this fight seem a little bit close, as it should. And that's what a good build is supposed to do. It's making the fight seem closer than it should be. When I look at it, and I'm not going to deviate from what I've always seen it as. I think Caleb Plant lands some punches, lands some shots early throughout the fight. He tires, and David Benavidez stops him. That's going to be the popular pick. It's the obvious pick. But like based on analysis, like I really like your pick, and I think it's a really good pick. I'm not getting caught up. It is what it is. I'm not going to even
look, man. I appreciate you looking at my analysis and saying, "Yeah, man, that shit kind of makes sense. I can see it."
I mean, I've done my own research. I've seen this. You're not saying anything that's not true. Like, there are some really, really good points there, and there is a world where Caleb Plant can win this fight, and he can win the fight in dominating fashion. There's a world in where he starts fast, slows down, but is able to get to the finish and wins a decision. There's a lot of things that can happen in this fight, but it's bad blood. We're gonna have fun with it no matter what.
I think we're gonna have fun no matter what. No, I love it. I love it. And here's the thing. I love when we're able to come out here, have different picks, but it was like we can both see each side. Like, yeah, that shit makes sense. Like, I definitely understand it. And for you guys watching and listening, it's just better for y'all. Now you guys have all the information that you need. All right, before we get out here, we're going to do these real quick. This just in, within about an hour ago, guess what? We touched on it, I believe, last week or the week before that. Tyson Fury, Usyk is not happening on April 29th. Really quick, just quick thoughts, quick hitters. What do you think?
This is Tyson Fury. Feels like Tyson Fury.
He went from being one of my favorite fighters to, I don't know if I fuck with you like that.
Tyson Fury be playing with this belt. Like, cool, you went off Klitschko. Amazing win. Then he, goes on drug bench for 3 years. Makes an amazing comeback. An amazing trilogy with Deontay Wilder. And then he just starts fucking off again as soon as we give him the attention that he rightfully earned with an amazing comeback. And then went over Wilder. But, like, this is who Fury has been. It's not like, and I think we get lost in these quick
hits.
Go ahead. I ain't even gonna do this because I can talk on this for a while. I'm fucking piss me off.
Also, unfortunately, Inoue versus Fulton was postponed. Stephen Fulton says they do have another date. He's like, don't trip. So at first we were sad. I thought that fight was off. It's not off. They're just postponing it because Inoue had I believe it's some sort of injury in camp. So we could all breathe easy. That fight's still happening.
I'm hoping it's not an arm injury. Anything to do with the arm or hand, I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. Arm, hand, shoulder, like let it be like a rib injury or something like that.
Straight up. Oh, absolutely. If that's the case, I'm happy with that. But aside from that, man, look, that's about all we got today, man. Anything else we want to touch on real quick? Any quick hitter you want to address?
Canelo Ryder.
God, Canelo, how did we forget the king of 168? Canelo is going to fight, what is his name? David Ryder or something like that?
John Ryder.
John Ryder. And look, it was one of them generic names.
Yeah, well, John Ryder is nobody impressive. He beat Daniel Jacobs in like a highly disputed decision last year. He lost to Callum Smith in a highly disputed decision. He's lost to Rocky Fielding. We saw what Canelo did to Rocky Fielding, Jack
sure.
Arnfield, Nick Blackwell. So he has some losses.
Yeah.
He's looked okay as of late. Canelo wants to fight in Mexico. Some of the other bigger names in the division are busy. He's coming off of surgery. He's kind of taking like a tune-up fight. And, it is what it is. I'm
okay say with Canelo doing that.
I'm not going to say it's the best decision because in my opinion, Triple G was a tune-up. And because at his age, Triple G was a tune-up and Canelo didn't necessarily look that great in that fight. So I'm excited. I want to see what Canelo has left. I think a guy like Canelo, people are going to define his career by his losses. It's almost like we're looking at his career in different stages. And this seems to be the final chapter. Maybe not. Obviously, we can't tell the future, but it seems to be that final chapter of his career. So to see what he has left and where he goes after this, I think Canelo, I don't want to see Canelo Plant again. But if Benavidez wins, I think that's a great fight. Obviously, the B-ball rematch at 168.
If Plant goes out there and stops David Benavidez, I'm okay with that fight eventually. If he goes out there and stops David Benavidez and beats Jermall Charlo, I'm absolutely okay with Plant and Canelo again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
It's not like it wasn't a competitive fight. People make it seem like it wasn't a competitive fight, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it wasn't a competitive fight. I don't necessarily think it was the closest fight in the world. Like Plant was having some success though. He did really good with timing Canelo, and I think he'll do really good with timing Benavidez. But just not a fight I'm interested in at this particular moment. There's much more interesting fights out there. Like there's some up and coming names that someone's gonna have to say something to in a 168-pound division. You guys got guys like David Morrell. Like there's
plenty up there, but we will discuss all of them at a later date. With that being said, everybody enjoy the fights this weekend. It is going to be incredible. As always, BCAMM, the guru. I appreciate you, my brother, coming on. And boxing is alive and well, people. Make sure y'all tapping in and watching it. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Fight Podcast. Make sure you cop some merch. We have some fantastic sweatshirts, everything there. Love y'all. B, where can they find you real fast?
You can find me on Instagram at BCAMM13. I'm like, damn, I don't even go on Instagram like that anymore. Barely remember my name.
Check them out at My Wash Gospel.
BCAMM13, and on Twitter at My Wash Gospel. I'm a lot more active on Twitter, so check me out there. Appreciate it, Serge. Per the usual, this is Guru's Corner, and I will see you next week. We'll be breaking down this fight, all the fights coming up. But I cannot wait to talk about what happened in this fight next week.
Oh, I know. It's gonna be great. All right. With that being said, love y'all. Peace.